Good morning, everybody. Um, First of all, let me start from a place of gratitude and say, that I'm really grateful that you guys are here, taking some time out of your busy morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. And I hope that this presentation and the interaction will be of use for you. I'm going to share some concepts with you guys. So let's get started. The, Basically, well, first of all, if you guys don't know me, my name is Huber Ostanix. I go also by the Thrive Monger moniker. I find myself always telling people that they can thrive. So, I decided to take up that name, and I help organizations to transition from founder-led to having a management team-led organization that allows the owner or founder to step back and work more on the business instead of working in the business all the time. And that leads to eventually finding clarity of purpose, control, which leads to breakthrough and allows them to move to the next level, right? Today, I want to share a few things with you guys. So, first of all, a little bit of a personal introduction, who I am, where do I come from. I'm going to talk then about the entrepreneur's journey. And then we're going to touch upon a theme of the business operating framework. And then we'll go deep into the purpose, why and how and all that. And finally, your business's operating system. How does it look like? What do you do? So these are the values that drive my practice. I wish I knew this a long time ago, but along my professional life, I kind of like realize these things. And mostly what I tend to do is I try to find simplicity, seek simplicity, but I also like to work on interesting problems that matter, that have some relevance in the market or in the world, with people who I love and who care about those problems, and adding as much value as I can, during the process. So my professional life, my experience runs the gamut. I have my own entrepreneurship stance. I had my own engineering company. I sold it early, straight out of college, basically. Then I went into corporate. I spent about 20 years around that. And since 2020, I've been doing full-time consulting, mostly for the biggest brands in the industry. And now I'm kind of want to make that available for smaller businesses. So my expertise is around three areas: go-to-markets and channels and distribution, services and customer success methodologies. But I have a strong component there of business operations and how to optimize things, how to create processes, and all that. So mostly this presentation is about that. Now, the title of the presentation is Purpose, right? And so this is a quote by Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland, right? He said, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there." So having a purpose defines which way are you going, and that determines, what are the roads that you're going to take, which roads are you going to take, where does the fork on the road lead you. He also said, he was a very particular character, and he also said, "No good fish goes anywhere without a purpose." He did that play of words, and that's also one thing. If nothing is chasing you, nothing is, like creating a threat for you, you don't get to move. So those are interesting components in having a purpose. The concepts of this presentation come from mainly these five books. Probably every single one of them is good, but probably the most influential here is the E-Myth. It's a book by Michael Gerber. Okay, and in that book, Michael Gerber poses this, basic idea that entrepreneurs basically go into business because they want to continue doing something that they are good at and that they enjoy. So the entrepreneur has this particular skill, which may be manual or maybe, a knowledge skill, whatever. They really enjoy doing it. They feel like they want to do it in their own terms. Sometimes they cannot get to do it. So they decide to go ahead and go on their own. And that's what Michael Gerber calls the technician, okay? But you might as well call it also the artisan, or the craftsman, or craftswoman, right? It's someone who specializes in something and does it with great pleasure and love. But soon they find out that you also need to be an entrepreneur, right? You also need to have this split personality, because you need something that drives the business forward, right? And that's what Michael Gerber calls the entrepreneur. This is the personality that pushes forward, has new ideas, goes boldly into the market, and launches products and services for their clients, right? But then finally, you also need to have someone who makes sure that the trains run on time, right? So bills get paid, payroll is on time, uh, invoices are collected, etc., taxes are paid. So, and that's the manager, right? And these are very distinct personalities, in the sense that the technician just wants to work on their craft, right? Leave me alone, let me do my thing. The entrepreneur is basically starting something new all the time, right? And the technician probably is complaining, why are we doing this thing again? And the manager is trying to hold both of them back, and trying to make it work as a business. So you need to have these three personalities in your brain, sort of, or at least have maybe business partners who complement each other. That's another option. Now, most people, when they go into business, they go into business very hopefully. They think that they're gonna do great. That it's a great day, basically. The day that they open, they are happy. Hey, I finally did doing my thing, whatever. But very soon they realize that scaling is hard. Okay, and it's hard because it's hard to find good people that do things the way you want it. You cannot really take the eye off the business because no one else cares. The growing to the next level is always unattainable and really hard. And also you don't see a clear exit path. It's like you got yourself into this mess and you don't know, now you don't know how to get out. And this is reflected in the numbers. Actually, these are numbers from Washington State specifically, right? And this is data from the public library, okay? And you can see the number of companies that are active by their revenue numbers, right? And as you can see, it's almost like the chart almost looks fake, right? Because it has this regularity. Every time the revenue number doubles, the number of companies just halves, right? So would that make this makes you this shows you immediately is that scaling is so hard. It's twice as hard to get to the next level every single time. So it's twice as hard to be twice as big, then it's four times as hard to get to the next level, and so forth. So it's really hard to get to the next level. But the thing is, as a company, you only have four options, right? When you start out in business, you're a startup, right? You're putting things together, trying to make this work, trying to find product market fit, etc. But you can't be a startup forever. So the only options that you have is that you either become a scale up, where you start growing your business and adding to it, and bringing in new customers, etc., and you start this upward creep, right? Or you become a screw up because you made a terrible mistake or something happened, and basically you went out of business. Or you just become a stall out, where you're just not innovating anymore, you're not trying anything new anymore, and you just slowly fading away into the sunset. So these are basically the four options that you have, and out of them you can be a startup for forever, right? You don't want to be a screw up, you want to be a stall out. So the only option that you have is to become a scale up. And a business acquaintance of mine brought this concept to me, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. So, commercial airliners, when you are when the airliner is taking off, when the plane is taking off, you kind of like feel this jolt back, and you sink into the seat and what have you, right? And it feels really like a tremendous force. So I'm curious to know what people think that angle is, the angle of attack that the plane is ascending. To me, it feels really radical sometimes. That feeling of pressure against the seat, it can feel like a good 45, 60 degrees. So if you have any particular opinion, can you put it in the chat, please? In reality, what it is that it's only 15 degrees, and that's enough to get the plane taking off. Now, how much do you think it is the angle of attack when the plane is flying level? And this is probably the most interesting question, right? You may say 0, right? You're flying level, what have you, right? But in reality, what happens is the plane usually, most commercial airliners have an angle of attack of 3 to 5 degrees when flying level. So you may say, well, why are they going their nose up and that, right? And it's like almost there's other physics involved, right? It's as an engineer, I cannot not tell you that, but it's almost like the plane is in a constant free fall and it's fighting free fall, right? And it's constantly trying to climb against that force. And business is similar in the wider sense, right? That businesses are usually trying to fight and constantly falling into bankruptcy and trying to fight that, right? So what do? So you have to look at these 4 different aspects of what the business puts together, right? You have to constantly be looking at your people, at your strategy, your execution, and obviously the profit to make sure that you are still in that zone of being a scale up, okay? Now, and interestingly enough, when I looked into these numbers, you also find out that some more agile planes like an F-16 have a much higher angle of attack when they are flying level. It's around 10%. And the only plane, or not the only, but one of the few planes that actually has a negative angle of attack is the Concorde, which unfortunately doesn't fly anymore. But basically this plane was so good at what it did, at least from the technical standpoint, that it had to have a negative angle of attack. If not, it would just keep flying up, and get out of the atmosphere. So, but what does this have to do with a purpose and all of this? And so a purpose helps you in this constant improvement and this constant scale up emotion. And how does it help you? So first of all, it differentiates you in the market. You're not the same as any other company in your field. You can actually have a purpose that defines your company in a different way, even if you do the same goods and services. And it allows, this is probably one of the biggest one, it allows good people to self-select. So when you have a clear purpose statement, people will come to you and say, I want to work with you because you have this purpose and that's aligned with my own. And it targets the right customers. If you talk to someone in customer success or customer support, they will tell you, there's nothing worse than a bad customer. Even if it's a customer, even if they are paying, if they are not satisfied with the product, it's terrible to deal with them. And sometimes it's not because the product is bad, it's because there's no alignment. And having that alignment from the get-go is super important. So, and then internally for your organization, it helps you to decide what not to do. It keeps everybody focused on the same goal, right? Everybody's rowing in the same direction, so to say. And I think that most importantly than any other thing, it guides decision making when you're not in room, right? It's so we can have processes and the policies, etc., and that will guide decision when you're in front of known problems, right, or known issues. But when the issue is unknown, right, or it's a new one, what guides the decision? So, what is a purpose statement? Isn't that a mission? So there's particular differences, right? And there's different versions of this. So a mission statement typically describes what an organization does. So here's an example for Google in their early days, to organize information and make it universally accessible and useful. That's what they do, right? They organize information. So but then there is another version of this that companies came up with this. It's the BHAG, right? And this stands for the big, hairy, audacious goal. It's a goal out in the future that is so big that, it's inspiring, right? And this guides how the company moves forward towards it. And for example, for Microsoft, it used to be a computer on every desk and in every home, right? And this is a pretty big goal out in the future, right? It's very concrete as well. And then there is this concept popularized mostly in the startup community and exponential organizations community, and it's the concept of the massive transformative purpose, or MTP. And this tends to be more inspirational. It's more about the effect that you can have on the world, and how do you make a dent in the universe, right? And so it's deeply transformational. It's not necessarily fully concrete. It's more about something that you're affecting. And to Google, it changes the equation, for example, and it goes to something like to organize the world's information. And for Microsoft, look at this one. It's empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. It's no longer about having a computer on every desk. It's about helping people to do more, to increase productivity. So you have this range of things that you can do, and certainly for most organizations, it will be something in the middle. But having something inspirational that it's actually not that easy to achieve in the short term. It provides that alignment and that North Star for the organization. So how do we make one of these? So the first thing is that you identify a problem or a challenge that resonates with you, but also with your team. If your team is not on board, it's not going to work. Okay, so once you have identified that, this has to be more of a conversation, brainstorming together, right? And then you develop a clear and compelling vision for how the future will look like, and how can the company help in that. And then you craft a sentence as simple as you can, and that captures that purpose. And you finally develop an organization plan that how will you get there. Okay, so you need to first of all come up with what is the problem or the challenge you're trying to solve. How does the future look like? You craft a sentence, and now you have a plan to get there. So, and from there, once you have something that you're satisfied with, you start to communicate your purpose with your team and all your stakeholders, and you do this over and over again. But you also monitor and evaluate your progress towards how are you doing against that MTP, okay, or that purpose. Now, here's a few resources that you can use to develop your own. I'm going to get a little bit out of the way so that you can read. So there is this AI assisted tool on Peter Diamandis' website, and Peter Diamandis is the founder of the X Prize. And if you go to diamandis.com/MTP, it has an AI free tool to help you develop a purpose statement. On my own website on thrivemonger.com, if you go to thrivemonger.com/spice, you'll find this PDF that helps you with it, but it also incorporates things like, how would you execute and what are your particular strengths as well, right? So that's more of the hedgehog concept that we can talk about if we connect at some point. But and what happens once you have one, or if you have one already? Well, here are a couple of suggestions on how to do this well. Instead of just having it printed on a piece of paper and hang it on a wall on a frame. So one of the things is you communicate it extensively. Use it all the time. You use it with your products. You use it with your clients. You use it with your employees, right? And the second thing is you live by it. So it's not only that you communicate it and you say this thing, out loud many times, but you also, every time when you have the opportunity to use it for something, you use it. And for example, when you're having you're praising someone, you're praising an employee, for example, you say, well, this person really exhibited the values and the purpose of our company in such a way, right? And also you can say, well, this wasn't correct, something, if you're reprimanding or pointing out something, you can say this wasn't correct because it doesn't align with our purpose, right? And you can use it with customers as well. When you find a customer there's no alignment, you can tell them, hey, listen, basically what happens, we love you, but this particular opportunity doesn't align with our purpose, so we're not going to take it, right? So these are two of them. And the third one is monitor progress and communicate it, right? So at least yearly, you should have some way also to make that purpose real. If you just have it hanging on the wall and you're not saying how you're advancing towards it, it's basically a sentence that it's captured there on a piece of paper, and that's what it is. But if you every year you say, well, we inched towards our purpose, our objective in this way, right? And here is how we are moving towards it. It becomes a living purpose. Okay, so these are three things that you can do with a purpose statement that you already have, or once you develop it. And the purpose statement is basically one little component of how do we do things over here. Okay, there's this concept of the business operating framework, right? And that's a fancy way to saying just the same thing. This is how we do things over here. This is how things are done here. And the purpose and the values of the company or the organization are the foundational layer of that operating framework. Okay, it sets the basis for everything. It's very hard to build anything purposefully on top of it if you don't have this. But on top of this layer, then comes the more pragmatic day-to-day operations layer. Then this has everything that has to do with your processes, your organizational structure, the goals and performance management, the KPIs that tell you, KPI, key performance indicators that tell you exactly, in numbers and objectively, where are you going? How do you communicate and collaborate among the team members? And finally, what are the tools that you frequently use? And this is, as I said, it's more of the pragmatic way of looking at the business, and it runs the business, right? And on top of this, you have the business management and high-level processes and leadership, where this is where the owner, founder, or the management team to get together and work on the business instead of working in the business. And here is where decision making happens, where risk and change management is taking place, where strategy is crafted, where policies are done as well, and where we also look at how do we improve the organization and how we develop the people that work at the organization. So you need a framework like this if you want to operate a world-class business. And now I adhere to a particular model that I use, which is the system and soul model. And it's a different way of splitting things a little bit. First of all, it looks at the design. So that's the, organizational structure, processes, and things. The people, do you have the right people working the right way on the right things? And then you have the ethos. This is what it refers to, like the soul of the company. And this is the piece that determines who we are, what do we stand for, and what are the habits and rituals that we perform. And this also has to do a lot with the purpose, but there is another component, which is the destination. And this defines not only the purpose long term, but also the objectives, on a short-term basis, on a quarterly basis, or even monthly. And then you finally have the score, or the KPIs, the key performance indicators, that tell you exactly objectively where we are going. And then there is this cadence, right, which moves business forward. And it's this, I call it the drum beat. It's is the motion forward on how we keep advancing, right? So that's the model that I use. Now, why do this? And it's mostly because scale-ups perform better than other peers in the industry that they play in, and they usually deliver twice as better cash flow. Which grows, which fuels innovation, right? And you can have growth. They are way better profitable, and the owner or the founder or the management team spend 5 times more time in market-facing activities. So talking to customers, talking to stakeholders, etc. And finally, they get it, 10 times better valuation in the market. One of the reasons is because of an organization that has a purpose, that has a management system, is more of a self-driving organization, and it can be sold, right? It's not something that you have to buy and fix, for so to say, but it already has some value in it immediately, so the valuation becomes better. I just want to point you to this free resource that I have also on my website. So if you go to thrivemonger.com, BOS, Business Operating System, you will be able to download this PDF, that has all the components explained if you want to implement this on your own at your organization. And finally, I just want to leave you with my contact information. If you want to talk about any of these topics or any other thing, related to your business, to your strategy, to your go-to-market strategy, please hit me up. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email at huba@thrivemonger.com. There's my phone as well. Okay, thank you very much.